Katherine Ryan, the sharp-tongued Canadian comedian who's made a name for herself in the UK comedy scene with her no-holds-barred stand-up routines and TV appearances, has always been refreshingly honest about her life. From dishing on motherhood mishaps to skewering modern dating woes, she's built a career on turning personal chaos into hilarious gold. But in a recent candid chat on Davina McCall's Begin Again podcast, she peeled back the layers on one of the most pivotal and hilariously disastrous moments of her romantic history, reuniting with her childhood sweetheart, Bobby Kootstra, through a one-night stand that went horribly wrong. Spoiler alert, it led to marriage, 3 kids, and a love story that's equal parts rom-com and reality check. Let's rewind a bit to set the scene. Katherine and Bobby grew up together in the sleepy suburbs of Sarnia, Ontario, Canada. Think Tim Hortons runs hockey games, and that quintessential small-town vibe where everyone knows your business. They were kids navigating the awkwardness of first crushes and playground drama, but life pulled them in different directions. Katherine, with her big dreams and bigger personality, jetted off to London in her early 20s to chase comedy stardom. She hustled through open mics, landed gigs on shows like 8 out of 10 Cats, and became a single mom to her daughter Violet at just 17, a fact she's owned with fierce pride, turning it into fodder for her routines about teen pregnancy and societal judgment. Meanwhile, Bobby stayed closer to home, building a stable life that Katherine would later describe as the polar opposite of her whirlwind existence. Fast forward to 2018. Katherine's career is booming. She's got Netflix specials under her belt, like Glitter Room, where she roasts everything from Instagram influencers to her own dating disasters. But beneath the glamour there's an itch for something real. Enter the catalyst, filming an episode of Who Do You Think You Are? Back in Canada. It's one of those ancestry shows that digs up family skeletons, but for Katherine, it unearthed something even more personal, a lingering what-if about Bobby. They hadn't spoken in years, but social media had kept tabs. We hadn't spoken. We still hadn't spoken. I just watched his Instagram stories a few times, she confessed on the podcast, that classic millennial admission of digital stalking without the courage for a DM. What happened next sounds like a plot from one of her sketches. Katherine, ever the strategist or maybe just a bit impulsive, posts on her Instagram, "Oh, I'm going to this place with my sister tonight. Anyone have any recommendations?" Just bait, pure and simple. She knew, deep down with that gut instinct honed from years of reading crowds on stage, that Bobby would bite. And bite he did. He shows up at the pub, sparks fly like they never left Sarnia, and before you know it they're tumbling into a one-night stand. But here's where the horribly wrong part kicks in. Katherine, laughing through the retelling, sums it up, "'Cause now we have all these kids. I just thought it would be funny to ***G him. And it was funny." What starts as a cheeky hookup spirals into pregnancy very quickly, a shotgun wedding months later, and suddenly this comedian who's famous for her solo swagger is building a blended family. Digging deeper, that night wasn't just a fluke, it was a collision of timing and unresolved history. Katherine had been through the ringer romantically, toxic exes, the grind of single parenting, and the loneliness that creeps in when you're killing it professionally but feel untethered personally. Bobby, on the other hand, represented stability, a throwback to innocence before life got complicated. When he texted her the next morning, not with regret, but with a bold, "I want to have kids and get married," it flipped the script. For Katherine, who prides herself on control, hello, her book, Are You Having a Laugh? This was terrifying and thrilling. Their chemistry? Electric. She describes it as really good, the kind that makes you overlook the logistics of transatlantic romance. Marriage followed in 2019, a low-key affair that contrasted sharply with Katherine's high-octane persona. But don't mistake it for fairy tale perfection. She's brutally transparent about the bumps. In her stand-up, she jokes about Bobby's Canadian politeness clashing with her British sarcasm, or how becoming a stepdad to Violet overnight tested his mettle. Yet through it all they've built something solid. Their son Fred arrived in 2020, right in the thick of pandemic lockdowns, talk about timing. Then Fenna in 2022, adding another layer of joyful mayhem. And just recently their third child together, a daughter named Holland, entered the world, expanding the clan to 5, plus Violet, now 16 and thriving as the cool big sis. Parenting 3 under 5 while touring? Katherine makes it look effortless, but she's the first to admit it's a circus. On the podcast, she touches on how that fateful night reshaped her priorities. Oh no. Why? Davina probes when Katherine drops the horribly wrong bomb. The answer? The kids. But it's laced with affection. What could have been a punchline became her anchor. She's spoken elsewhere about how Bobby's steadiness grounds her chaos, how he handles the midnight feed so she can scribble jokes at 3 a.m. It's a partnership where her wit meets his quiet strength, turning potential disaster into domestic harmony. Reflecting on it all, Katherine's story is a masterclass in serendipity. That Instagram post? A calculated risk that paid off bigger than any comedy special. The one-night stand? A hilarious detour to forever. In a world where dating apps promise connection but deliver ghosting, her tale reminds us that sometimes, the universe conspires with a pub crawl and a prayer. And for fans, it's pure Katherine, vulnerable, vulgar, victorious. As she navigates new motherhood with Holland, expect more material, because if there's one thing this woman knows, it's how to laugh at the mess. Whether it's unpacking the logistics of a trans-Canada conception or toasting to the man who turned her what if into we did, Katherine Ryan proves that the best love stories are the ones that start with a snort and a shrug.